Hello folks, Ian Morrison from the Rental Man in Caboolture. You're about to see part 2 of my discussion on the local community radio with regard to the rent reforms that the government is planning for next year. Do not be mistaken. These changes will make a big difference in the rental industry in Queensland. It will lead to people leaving, owners leaving the marketplace, causing more vacancy rates to fall, and also too taking extra rents to hedge against their risk. It's a bit like private insurance. Why do the rates keep going up? That's because the private insurers, the medical insurers, are actually hedging against the problems they see coming up in the future. If you don't want rents to rise, if you don't want people to simply exit this marketplace, then get involved. Look at the survey, participate in the survey, and give us a hand to say to the Queensland Government, this is our private business. We've already got a really good situation going on. We've got a lovely balance, landlords and tenants. It's a minority that might have a problem. The end result is we don't need them interfering in our private business. So get involved. Thanks for having a look, and we'll see you next time.
In the studio this morning we have Ian Morrison, the rental man here in Caboolture. Today we continue our discussion about proposed changes to the Queensland rental laws. Good morning, Ian.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, listeners.
Ian, with what's developed over the last few weeks since these proposed announcements have been come out in the open, how do you see these reforms likely to affect tenants in Queensland?
Thanks, Greg. That's a very, very good question, and it's something that's not being acknowledged. The Minister has already actually agreed that rents will rise under these new reforms as landlords take more action against any losses they may occur over these proposals. Higher rents and harder to get approvals for tenancies, and we're already seeing that as a direct result of these proposed reforms. I think we need to acknowledge that we have the lowest vacancy rates in Queensland that we've seen for many, many years, and these reforms will only make it worse. There's a lot of clients are talking about selling off, getting out of this particular rental market, and that is just simply going to make it harder for tenants, along with the higher rents, as I say, that are acknowledged by the government.
So this is what you're hearing from landlords?
We're hearing it from landlords, and we're also hearing it from surveys that are being done around the industry amongst other professionals around the place. The Real Estate Institute of Queensland has a Facebook page that is bringing this news to us daily with regard to responses they're getting from their clients and people around within the industry.
So you're getting feedback from tenants and from landlords. What about tenants? Are you getting direct feedback from them?
Well, we actually had there was a forum this week in Brisbane with the Tenants Union of Queensland. Unfortunately, it was heavily weighted with regard to all the good things that might come to tenants. But we've already heard that whilst they may think this is a good thing, you can have your pets at the property, you can do whatever you like. The end result is that landlords are reacting and saying we're not gonna just allow this to occur without taking some, I guess it's insurance against risk.
We'll be back with Ian shortly. This is 101.5 FM. In the studio this morning, we continue our discussion with Ian Morrison about proposed changes to the Queensland rental laws. Ian, I believe you got some feedback there from landlords, what they're actually saying.
Greg, we've already seen it within the industry. We've seen a higher selectivity with regard to the tenants that can be approved. For example, people that don't have a rental history, clients are already saying, well, I'm not sure that I can just ask this tenant to leave at the end of the agreement. So please decline and keep moving forward and find someone with the right type of referencing. So this is going to impact heavily on tenants themselves. And we'd love to hear from some of those tenants with the survey, which I'll give you details about in a minute. But let me read you a specific letter, which I think encapsulates pretty well exactly how landlords are reacting. This is from one of my clients who's in Sydney. He's a very good bloke. He's recently bought into the Queensland market, and he says this: "Hello, Ian. Thanks for all the information. Quite a read. I do like the idea of reviewing current legislation periodically, and if change is needed to create a better system, then that's good. But as the investor owner of the property, I should have a say with any modifications done to the property regardless of the reason. I should also keep the right to choose the tenants and when I want them to leave. The government needs to realise that without residential investors, they would have a public housing crisis on their hands. I am not a slum landlord, and never will be. I appreciate the need for regulation around standards of living, but be careful about taking away the owner's rights over their property. There are plenty of other states to invest in. Thanks, Ian, and keep up the good work. I think, Greg, what he's basically saying is this: they're quite happy to do the job. We've got a very good relationship between tenants and landlords in this state. We already have regulations that deal with a lot of these issues, but these guys are basically saying, if you don't want our money, there's plenty of other places we can take it, and that will cause problems here in the housing situation in Queensland. And I think that's something that both tenants and landlords need to take note of.
We'll be back with Ian shortly. This is 101.5 FM. We're back talking with Ian Morrison about these proposed changes to the rental laws in Queensland. Ian, I believe there's a survey people can fill out. Can you tell us about that?
There is, Greg. Thank you, and I appreciate the support of the community with regard to this. This is the opportunity for tenants and landlords to have a say about these new rules coming into play in Queensland. If you Google "Help Shape Queensland's Tenancy Laws," there is a survey there that you can participate in. It's really important that everybody get involved, not just landlords, but tenants as well. We're talking about high vacancy rates, raising rents, and various things to upset what is already, I believe, and after 30 years in the industry, a very good and well-balanced industry providing housing for tenants that quite simply the government can't do. 98% of properties in Queensland are owned by private owners. I think that 98% should have a say, and that means 98% also of tenants, of private tenants, and I think they should have a say. The idea is, why fix a wheel that's not broken? So please, help shape Queensland tenancy laws, get involved in the survey, and give us a hand to simply say to the government, everything's fine, will you just leave us alone?
Thanks for your time today, Ian.
I appreciate it, Greg, and thank you, listeners.
This is the Business and Real Estate Show with Greg on 101.5 FM.